Hello, Happy New Year. It is now January, beginning of January, and I am here in the Phoenix area. And here in the Phoenix area and generally surrounding warmer climate areas, January is the time to do our hard cutbacks. So previously I've done videos just showing pruning, and that's going to be different than our hard cutback. Our hard cutback is we're pretty much going to cut it back almost to the ground, and I like to even defoliate the rose, so it's going to be a bit more intense of a pruning. So what the hard cutback does is it kind of puts the rose to be dormant, because during this time of year they would typically go dormant because of the cool winter temperatures, but it is very warm here, so you can see they still do like to bloom in the winter in Arizona. But it is good to do this hard cutback. It kind of gives them a break, and then it'll rejuvenate them, and then in spring they'll come back with really, really nice new green young growth. So I do like to do a hard cutback on my roses. Some people do not, but I do think that it does help like invigorate the rose and get it ready for spring. So I will be doing that, and in this video I will show you how and what I do for the hard cutback. Just as a note, here in Phoenix or warmer temperature areas, you can do this basically anytime in January. I have quite a few roses, so I only get to a couple every weekend, so throughout the month of January I do this. And if I have a rose that looks like this, where it's blooming, I'll let it bloom and then I will get to it. But I do have quite a few roses that have bloomed like this, and they're done blooming, so they just have a bunch of So for the roses that have bloomed already and they don't have any more petals on them, those are the roses that I'm going to cut back first. And then I'll get to once my other roses are done blooming, they're done flushing, then I will do the hard cutback on them at that time. I do like to get to mine as soon as they're done blooming. That way they don't put on new growth. So once this is done once this is done blooming, it'll kind of sit for a while and then it'll start to put on new growth again. So I do like to get to it before it gets to putting on new growth. That way we cut it down, and then it's going to put its energy into really nice vigorous new growth for the spring, instead of kind of spindlier new growth from the tops. So in this video I will demonstrate how to cut back on two different roses. One is an older rose, and I purposely let it get out of control. I didn't do a fall time pruning or cleanup on it, so it doesn't look very good. So, if you have a rose that is kind of more mature and kind of out of control, you may want to do a really hard cutback. So what I mean by that is I'll probably only leave like 3 to 4 canes on the rose, so I'll really take a lot off. And then the other one, I'm going to do more of a moderate cutback. This is probably what you want to do with most of your roses. So roses do bloom on new wood, new growth. So when we do a harder cutback, like a more intense cutback, it's kind of going to send the signal to make more new growth. So you'll want to do that to more mature roses that maybe haven't been blooming as much for you lately. You may want to consider the harder cutback. If you have a younger rose and it's still putting on like really nice showy growth, and most of the canes are mid to younger age, then we'll probably just want to do a mid cutback. So I'll show you both here in this video. Okay, so you can see this guy is blooming, and I'm just gonna let it keep blooming, and then once it is done with its flush of blooms, then I will go to pruning it. Now these guys over here, you can see they are they bloomed, they're done blooming, so this would be a good time to prune them back. And ideally, I like to get to them, see how they've put on new growth here, kind of from the ends. So in general, I like to get to them before they start putting too much of this new growth on. That way we can cut them down and they'll put their energy into more hardier canes rather than these little not as hardy canes here. So this rose over here, again, I let it purposely kind of get out of hand just to kind of show you that. So if you don't do, maybe you don't prune it, or you kind of neglected your rose bush, it may look something like this, and that's okay. We want to do a hard cut back and kind of clean this up. So I didn't do my fall pruning on this one, I just left it as is, and you can see it doesn't look the best, but it did put on, like, once it got cooler, it did put on like nice foliage after the summer. So I did do videos on how to do the fall pruning, and that's why I like to do fall pruning, so that it's not growing on top of kind of junkier growth. So this rose is quite tall, it's about as tall as I am. So the first thing that I'm going to do to do this hard cut back is I'm just going to cut all of the top off so that I can see how the canes look at the base. So that will be my first step. Got the tops cut off of this, and now I think we can see better the structure of this rose. So what we want to do is we want to have like an open center for the rose. So we want it to be shaped kind of like this. So we don't want anything kind of crossing or coming in towards the center, kind of like this cane here. Okay, so this growth in here, like in towards the middle, we will probably take out. So a lot of the canes that are coming inward will take out. And then canes, so this here is a thicker cane, and that's more desirable than like this thin cane right here. So we're going to get rid of all of these thin canes, and we're going to get rid of any canes growing in towards the center. And then we can take another look up close at this. Okay, so we've got quite a bit off, and now we can see even better the this rose base of the rose. And what I want to do is, because this is an older rose, and I really want to invigorate this rose, I am going to choose maybe 3 or 4 canes to keep, and the rest are gonna go. So you can see I got this center is nice and open. Okay, so when choosing the canes to keep, we'll want to keep in mind that the younger canes are going to be more productive, I guess. So this, even though this is a thicker cane, it is older. And this cane right here is younger. So it's hard to see, it's in a shadow, but this was the older, thicker cane, and then this is the younger, newer cane. You can tell by, you know, the coloring. So this one's thicker. It's still not too old, and this one's newer. And this is a nice size cane. So and you can see they're growing on top of one another. So a decision will need to be made here. You'll want to keep one of them. I'm going to choose to keep the new one. This one here, this is a newer cane, which is kind of why I left it. It's not a terrible size cane. It's not huge. It's kind of growing more towards the middle of the plant, so I might get rid of this cane in favor of one of these two canes. This is a pretty thick cane that I think I will keep. I'll probably cut. This looks a bit dead, so that's another thing too. So that is something to look out for. If you see any like dried up, kind of dead looking canes, those should go. This I'll cut back. This is pretty young, and then also we want to take into consideration the shape of the rose. So this is a good spot to grow from, so I'll probably want to keep this. Probably get rid of this just because this is pointing out towards the walkway. So here it is. I left 4 canes. Now this was a harder cutback. I will show a bit more moderate of a cutback on this rose behind it. This rose is a little younger, and so I don't think it needs as hard of a prune back. So let's do that. Okay, again, so we got kind of the top cut off so that we can see what's happening down in the bottom with the cane structure of the rose. And I got all of, you know, the spindlier growth off again so we could see what we're working with. So on this one, this cane has, come on, there we go. Okay, so this one has cane borers, and that's fine. So some people, when they do their hard cutbacks, they will glue the top to prevent cane borers, but they tend to go after like older wood anyway. So so this guy I'll probably want to get rid of because the cane borers are telling me that this is older, so I'll probably cut this off. Same thing with this one. This one's got some damage. This one looks a little younger, so I'm gonna cut this down a bit and see If I get to a point where they haven't gotten to it, I'll probably keep this cane. If not, I'll get rid of it. But you can see like the younger canes here, there's nothing in it. So I don't glue the ends of the canes. I'll just cut them off at this time of year. Like even though this had cane borer damage to it, this one still bloomed. So it's not, I don't think it's too big of a deal. But if you want to prevent this, I guess you could just get some glue, like some wood glue, and cover it. But I don't. Personal preference. So I'm going to see what I want to keep on this guy. So here this is cut back. I did have to go down a bit on this one, but you can see there's no damage down here, so I cut it back. Same thing as this one. I cut it back to where there was no damage. I did leave a bit more, maybe not too much. I was gonna try and leave a little bit more of these guys over here, but they did have some cane borer damage, so that is what it is. So that's what I've decided to do with this rose for this cutback. Okay, so this one over here is the exact same rose. It's the Grandiflora Lasting Peace is what this rose is called, and it's the exact same rose I was just showing you. I have two of them. So this one had a bit less of the cane borer damage, and so I was able to leave more canes. So this would be kind of a moderate cutback how I left it. So I just wanted to show you that, just so that you can get a feel for how these look once you do a hard cutback. It does seem like a lot, but it's really not, and it's actually really good for the rose, and it will get it to put on really nice new growth.